Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about a truth that many of us don't like to hear. No one is your friend. Yes, it sounds harsh. It feels lonely. But sometimes reality is not soft, it's sharp. And this truth, once you understand it, can set you free. True friends are rare. Most are seasonal. This is a truth that life reveals slowly, often in moments when we least expect it. In the beginning, everyone seems friendly. They smile, talk sweetly, share jokes and make you believe that the bond you share is unbreakable. They say words that feel warm and promise that they will always be there. But as time passes, situations change and so do people. It's not because they are always bad or selfish. Sometimes it's because their role in your life was never meant to last forever. Some people are there to walk with you only for a part of the journey. When their part is done, they move on, and that's when you understand that not everyone you call a friend is truly a friend. Seasonal friends are like the weather. They show up when the sun is shining, when life is easy, when everything is going your way. They enjoy the happy moments, the celebrations, and the laughter. But the moment clouds gather, when storms of pain or failure come, they disappear quietly. You may try to reach out to them, expecting the same warmth, but what you find is cold silence. This is not because your pain doesn't matter, but because their presence was never built to handle your struggles. Their friendship was based on comfort, not commitment. On the other hand, true friends are rare like precious gems. You don't find them in every corner. You don't meet them every day. They are few, and that is why their value is so high. A true friend doesn't need a perfect situation to stay. They don't walk away when you fall. They don't judge you when you are at your weakest. Instead, they hold your hand quietly. They stand by your side without needing attention, and they stay even when there is nothing to gain. Their loyalty doesn't depend on time, trends, or benefits. It is sincere, honest, and lasting. When you look back at your life, you will notice patterns. There were people you thought were permanent, but they left without warning. There were others who were just passing by, and you confuse their temporary presence with real friendship. This happens to everyone because we often give the title of friend too easily. We mistake a shared laugh for loyalty. We mistake company for connection. We mistake attention for care. But true friendship goes beyond all these things. It is tested in silence, in difficulties, and in times when no one is watching. As you grow, you will learn to observe quietly instead of trusting blindly. You will see how people behave when you are not shining, when you are not useful, and when you are not the center of attention. Those moments show you the difference between seasonal people and real friends. It is not the big promises that matter, it's the small actions. A seasonal friend may promise to be there forever, but a true friend will actually stay without saying much. Realizing that most friendships are seasonal does not mean you should become bitter or stop trusting. It simply means you should stop expecting permanence from everyone you meet. You should understand that some people come to teach you lessons, some to give you memories, some to challenge you, and a very few to stay for life. This understanding protects your heart from unnecessary pain. It allows you to appreciate people for the time they are in your life, without forcing them to stay longer than they are meant to. It teaches you to give value to quality over quantity. It makes you stronger, wiser, and more aware of who truly deserves the title of. Hard times reveal who really stands with you. When everything in life is going well, it's easy for people to surround you. Success attracts attention. Happiness brings company, and comfort makes relationships look stronger than they actually are. Everyone enjoys being around someone who is shining. In good times, people want to share your joy, take part in your achievements, and be seen standing next to you. But the true test of any relationship comes when the light fades, when things become difficult and when life takes a turn you didn't expect. In those moments, you begin to see people's real faces, not the ones they wear in public, but the ones they hide behind polite smiles and kind words. When you face hardship, you start noticing the silence of those who once spoke loudly. The ones who were always around suddenly become too busy. Their excuses become longer, their presence shorter. They say things like, "I wish I could be there," or "I'll talk to you soon," but soon never comes. These are the moments that break your illusion. You begin to understand that many people stand with you, not because of who you are, but because of what you give, the energy you provide, or the image you hold. The moment that image cracks, their interest fades. Hard times strip away the layers and reveal the truth hidden beneath the surface. On the other side, hard times also bring out the quiet strength of a few. There are people who don't talk much, who don't make promises, who don't always express their care through grand gestures. But when you are at your lowest, they're the ones who show up. They might not solve your problems, but they stand next to you, offering presence instead of pity, understanding instead of empty advice. Their loyalty doesn't need a stage or applause. It shows itself in small, sincere acts during your darkest moment. These are the people who help you breathe when everything around you feels heavy. Their support becomes a light that guides you through the storm. Struggles work like a mirror. They reflect back the reality of your relationship. You see clearly who is genuinely connected to your soul and who was just connected to your circumstances. Some people enjoy your energy when you're full of life, but vanish when you have nothing to give. Others stay even when you have nothing left. The difference is not in words, but in action. Pain has a unique way of separating the temporary from the true. It doesn't lie, it doesn't flatter, it just exposes. When you experience difficulties, you also grow emotionally. At first it hurts to watch people leave. It feels like betrayal. It feels like something inside you breaks. But as time passes, you begin to understand that their absence was not a loss. It was a lesson. It teaches you where to invest your emotions and where not to. It teaches you to value the quiet ones who don't leave when the noise of the world disappears. It teaches you to stop holding on to those who were never meant to stay through your struggles. Hard times are not just about survival, they are about revelation. They remove fake support systems and false friendship. They show you who truly cares, who understands without needing explanations, and who has the strength to stand beside you when everyone else walks away. It is in these times that you discover the rare gems in your life, the ones who may be few but are worth more than a crowd of seasonal people. Through pain you develop clarity. Through silence you recognize sincerity. Through darkness you identify the few lights that never go out. Depending on others leads to disappointment. When we rely too much on people for our happiness, support, or stability, we unknowingly give them power over our emotions. In the beginning, this dependence may feel comforting, having someone to talk to, someone to lean on, or someone who always listens can create a sense of security. But with time, this comfort can turn into expectation, and expectation often leads to pain. People are unpredictable. Their moods change, their priorities shift, their lives take new turns, and their hearts are not always aligned with ours. When we build our emotional strength on their shoulders, we risk collapsing the moment they step away. Human relationships are beautiful, but they are also fragile. No matter how close someone is, they can never fully understand your heart, your thoughts, or your struggles. Even the most caring person can misunderstand you, make mistakes, or fail to be there at the exact moment you need them. When you depend too much, every small change in their behavior starts to affect you deeply. A delayed reply becomes a sign of rejection, a missed call feels like abandonment, and a simple disagreement feels like betrayal. This is not because the other person is wrong. It's because your expectations have grown beyond what is realistic. Depending too much creates an invisible pressure on others to constantly be what you want them to be, and that pressure can push them away. Disappointment often comes from the gap between what we imagine and what actually happens. We imagine people will always understand us without words, that they will never hurt us, and that they will always choose us, no matter what. But reality works differently. People have their own struggles, responsibilities, and emotional limits. They can care for you deeply and still fail to meet every expectation you have. When you depend on them to fill your emotional gaps, you set yourself up for heartbreak. It's not their fault for being human. It's our fault for expecting them to be perfect. Depending on others can also make you forget your own strength. Instead of learning to stand on your own, you start waiting for someone to lift you up. Instead of comforting yourself, you wait for someone to say the right words. This weakens your inner foundation. When that person is not there, even for a short while, you feel lost and helpless. This emotional dependency can trap you in cycles of overthinking, insecurity, and sadness. You start believing that your peace depends on their presence, and that belief gives them control over your joy. When people change, leave, or simply fail to meet your expectations, the disappointment hits even harder because you've built so much on them. You question your worth, you wonder why they changed, and you replay every moment trying to find where it went wrong. In reality, nothing extraordinary has happened. They simply acted according to their own life. But because your emotions were tied to their actions, it feels personal. It feels like a wound, even if it was never meant to hurt you in the first place. Learning to stop depending on others is not about isolating yourself or becoming cold. It's about finding balance. It's about understanding that while people can support you, they cannot complete you. They can walk beside you, but they cannot walk for you. They can listen, but they cannot heal you from the inside. True strength is built when you learn to rely on yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. When you become your own source of comfort, others' actions no longer shake you so easily. You can appreciate people's presence without fearing their absence. You can love them deeply without expecting them to carry your entire emotional world. This kind of independence protects your heart from unnecessary pain and makes your relationships healthier and more genuine. Learn to be your own support system. Life has a way of testing us in moments when we feel the weakest. There are times when the people we thought would understand us don't, when the ones we believed would step away, and when the noise of the world suddenly turns into silence. In those moments, if your strength depends on others, you break easily. But when you have built a support system within yourself, you bend but do not fall. Being your own support system means learning to hold yourself when no one else does, to calm your heart when the world is loud, and to trust yourself even when you feel uncertain. In the beginning, this is not easy. We are taught from a young age to lean on others for help, comfort, and guidance. There is nothing wrong with seeking support, but when it becomes your only way to stay strong, it turns into a weakness. Real power comes when you realize that everything you need to keep going already exists inside you. It comes from the ability to talk to yourself with kindness, to pick yourself up after failure, and to remind yourself of your worth when doubt tries to take over. This self-support is like an inner shelter. No matter how strong the storm outside, you know there's a place within you that stays steady. Being your own support system means building emotional independence. Instead of waiting for someone to validate your feelings, you learn to acknowledge them yourself. Instead of waiting for someone to motivate you, you find your own reasons to keep moving. This doesn't mean you push people away or refuse help. It means you stop depending on others for the emotional stability that you are capable of giving yourself. When you talk to yourself with honesty and compassion, you become your own safe space. When you stop judging yourself harshly, you create an environment where healing becomes possible. Another part of becoming your own support system is trusting your decision. Often people doubt themselves so much that they constantly look to others for answers. They ask for opinions, they wait for approval, and they hesitate to take steps without someone else's encouragement. This keeps them stuck. But when you learn to rely on your own wisdom, you start taking responsibility for your path. You stop fearing mistakes because you know you have the strength to fix them. You stop hesitating because you trust your ability to grow through challenges. There will be moments when no one will fully understand what you're going through. You might explain your feelings 100 times and still feel unseen. You might cry in front of people and still feel unheard. This is where your inner strength matters most. Supporting yourself doesn't mean you never feel pain. It means you become the one who holds yourself gently through that pain. It's about becoming your own friend, your own motivator, and your own guide. It's about sitting with your emotions instead of running away from them, and giving yourself the patience and love you often expect from others. When you learn to be your own support system, you stop fearing loneliness. You stop chasing validation. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You begin to understand that while people can walk beside you, your journey is yours alone. This realization brings peace. It gives you the power to stand even in silence, to keep going even when no one is watching, and to stay strong even when the world turns away. It allows you to build relationships from a place of strength rather than need. It teaches you that your first home, your first comfort, and your first hand to hold should always be your own. Losing others can help you find yourself. In life, we often build our identity around the people we love and the relationships we hold close. We shape our routines, emotions, and even decisions around their presence. When someone leaves, whether through distance, change, or emotional disconnection, it feels like a part of us disappears with them. The silence they leave behind can feel heavy. The empty spaces in conversations can feel unfamiliar, and the sudden change can shake your sense of who you are. But within this loss lies an opportunity that many don't see at first. Losing people often pushes you to turn inward, to rediscover parts of yourself that were hidden behind attachments, and to rebuild your sense of self on a stronger foundation. When certain relationships end, it creates a gap that you naturally try to fill. At first, this gap may feel like loneliness, but with time, it becomes a space for self-discovery. You start noticing your own thoughts more clearly, because their voices are no longer guiding your choice. You start making decisions for yourself, rather than through the lens of someone else's opinions. You learn to sit with your emotions, to understand your own needs, and to recognize your strengths without external confirmation. This process can be uncomfortable, but it is deeply transformative. What initially feels like emptiness slowly turns into clarity. Losing others also reveals how much of your happiness was dependent on them. Many people don't realize they have tied their self-worth to another person's presence until that presence is gone. When that happens, you're forced to rebuild from the ground up. This rebuilding process helps you separate your identity from your relationships. It teaches you that while love and connection are important, they should not define your entire existence. You begin to see yourself as a whole person, capable of joy, growth, and strength on your own. This realization doesn't erase the pain of loss, but it gives the pain purpose. Sometimes when certain people leave, they take with them versions of you that you no longer need. You might have been holding on to habits, roles, or mindsets just to keep the relationship alive. When they leave, those parts naturally fall away too. This gives you the freedom to reinvent yourself, to grow into someone more authentic. You stop pretending. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that no longer align with who you are becoming. Loss becomes a doorway to personal evolution. Finding yourself through loss also means confronting emotions you might have avoided before. Without distractions, you face your fears, insecurities, and past wounds more directly. This confrontation can be difficult, but it allows real healing to begin. You stop relying on others to cover your emotional gaps and start addressing them yourself. As you do this, you discover strengths you didn't know you had. You realize that you are capable of surviving change, adapting to new realities, and finding peace even after emotional storms. Through this journey, your relationship with yourself grows deep. You learn to appreciate your own company, to trust your own judgment, and to value your own growth. You stop chasing after people who have left because you understand that their departure was part of a bigger picture. You start focusing on becoming the best version of yourself rather than clinging to the version of life that existed with them. Losing others becomes less of an ending and more of a beginning, a path that leads you back to your own. People come and go, accept it gracefully. Life is a journey filled with different chapters, and each chapter introduces new faces, while slowly closing doors on others. At first, it can be painful to watch people leave, especially those who once felt like they would be part of your story forever. You build memories, share laughter, trust their presence, and imagine a future where they will always be around. But life doesn't follow our imagination. People change, situations shift, and sometimes, even without conflict, paths separate naturally. Holding on too tightly to what is meant to move on only creates unnecessary pain. Learning to accept this reality with grace is a sign of maturity and emotional strength. Every person who enters your life plays a role. Some come to teach you lessons, some bring joy, some challenge your thinking, and some help you grow in ways you couldn't have on your own. Their time with you might be long or short, intense or quiet, but it's always meaningful in some way. Problems begin when we try to force temporary people to play permanent roles. We try to keep friendships alive even when both hearts have outgrown them. We keep chasing conversations that no longer flow naturally. We keep expecting the same connection when life has already changed both sides. This attachment to the past creates emotional weight that slows down your journey forward. People leaving doesn't always mean betrayal or failure. Sometimes it simply means their chapter in your life is complete. It's like finishing a beautiful book. You don't hate the ending just because it ended. You appreciate the story it gave you. And in the same way, when someone's presence starts to fade, fighting against it doesn't bring them closer. It only makes you exhausted. Accepting their departure with peace allows you to hold on to the good memories without bitterness. It gives you the freedom to grow and lets them follow their own path too. Graceful acceptance also means understanding that you too are a temporary character in someone else's story. Just as others leave you, you will also leave people. Not always because of anger or disappointment, but because growth sometimes leads in different directions. You might change cities, priorities, mindsets, or simply evolve into someone who no longer fits in the same spaces. This is not cruelty, it's part of the natural flow of life. When you see both sides with understanding, it becomes easier to let go without resentment. Holding on to people who have already emotionally left creates unnecessary suffering. You keep waiting for messages that don't come, replaying old conversations, or trying to fix something that isn't broken but simply completed. Accepting that people come and go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop resisting the natural rhythm of life. You start trusting that every person's arrival and departure serves a purpose, even if it's not clear right away. This acceptance creates emotional freedom. It allows you to focus on the present rather than being stuck in what used to. When you accept the coming and going of people with grace, you start valuing quality over quantity. You stop chasing everyone and start cherishing those who choose to stay. You stop taking departures personally and begin to see them as part of a bigger journey. Your heart becomes lighter because you no longer carry the burden of forcing connections. You begin to live with the understanding that not everyone is meant to stay forever, and that's okay. This mindset helps you grow without bitterness, love without fear, and let go without losing yourself. Real strength is standing alone with courage. There are moments in life when the crowd disappears, the voices around you fade, and all that remains is your own reflection staring back at you. These moments are not meant to break you, they are meant to shape you. It is easy to feel strong when you are surrounded by support, when encouragement comes from every direction, and when others hold your hand. But the real measure of inner power is revealed when you have to walk through uncertainty with no one holding your hand but yourself. Standing alone is not a sign of weakness or isolation. It is proof that your spirit is strong enough to hold its ground when everything else moves away. Courage in solitude does not mean you do not feel fear. It means you choose to keep going